Thank you, Janet and Narayan. So appreciate you. All right. Yeah, I love the hearts from Kathy. Oh, so good morning, everybody. It's so good to see you, whether you're on Zoom with us, whether you're on Facebook Live, whether you see us later in the week on YouTube. No matter how you join us, I'm so very grateful to see you. So grateful. And so the theme this month is Freedom in the Golden Age. And today the topic is From Limitation to Liberation. And first of all, I want to address, all of you may not know, but there was a shooting last night or yesterday, sometime during the day. And former President Trump was shot, and a couple of people, another person was killed, and I believe two are in critical condition. And so I want to address that for just a moment. And it's interesting that our theme this month is about liberation, is about freedom. And basically, our freedom is always to make a choice. So we can choose how we respond to this. Some people are choosing to go down the road of bipartisanship. Some people are choosing to take a higher road of prayer and a higher road of simply acknowledging the challenge that our country has with violence and with weapons of mass destruction. Because again, this was another weapon of mass destruction. And so you all know what I'm going to say. The road I choose to take, and the road I know all of us are taking on this call, because I know you, is the road of unity, the road of oneness, the road of compassion, the road of love. And no matter how tempting it may be to go to other places around it, that's where we stand. And as we stand in that place, we lift the whole vibration. This is such it's just yet another powerful time in our country, a powerful time to recognize how much separation there is, how much fear there is, how much seeming imprisonment and lack and everything that you might imagine, how difficult it is, and how challenging, and I admit it is challenging to take the high road of consciousness lots of times. It can be challenging to keep our thoughts, in alignment with truth, with an alignment with unity, in alignment with compassion, in alignment with love. And that's what I want to say, that's where I choose to stand. And I invite you all to stand there with me. And as we stand together, particularly as a community, we stand together in a powerful place. As we stand together, it increases our strength as a community. So, all right. So I want to say that, and then move on to From Limitation to Liberation. And basically it all relates to this. Everything does, frankly. So Limitation to Liberation, the Michael Beckwith reading mentions imprisonment to our false ideas, our false beliefs, our old patterns, and so forth. And there's a story that I want to tell you about imprisonment, and then go from there. So some of you may have heard me tell this story before, but this takes place, it's a legend that takes place in the Middle Ages. And according to this legend, there was this man in prison. He was in a medieval, however you say that, dungeon. He was in a medieval dungeon, and he'd been there for years and years and years. And one day he just was so tired of it. He couldn't stand it anymore. He just wanted his freedom. He wanted his liberation, or he just wanted to die because it was so bad that he didn't want to live anymore even. So he had this thought, this plot to kill the jailer, one of the guards. And so he calls the guard over to him. Well, first of all, no, he doesn't call the guard. Excuse me, I got the story wrong. So he thinks about calling the guard over, and he checks his cell door. He checks the door of his cell. And what he realizes was that it was unlocked, and that the door to his cell had been unlocked the entire time. And so he walked out, and he walked right by the guards. Nobody even said anything, and he walked out into the daylight to his freedom. So what does that story tell us? And I think, by the way, that it was told by Emmett Fox. Those of you who might know Emmett Fox, great metaphysical teacher from the 20th century. You know, and Emmett Fox makes a real point here that we're all living in some kind of prison, you know, whether we acknowledge it or not. And some of us live in a prison of lack and limitation. Some of us live in a prison of resentment. Some of us live in a prison of remorse. Some of us live in a prison of fear and dread. Some of us live in a prison of self-righteousness or doubt, or you can think of all the things you can think of, the ways that we live in our own self-made prisons. And so today it's about walking out of that cell, walking out of that prison. It's about noticing, first of all, that really the door was never locked. The door was never locked because we were born as free beings. We were born in the spiritual image and likeness of the divine. And in that image and likeness, can you imagine any kind of bondage? There simply can't be bondage. If you think about how we are sons and daughters of the Most High, we are these individualized expressions of the One. We are the presence in the flesh. Each and every one of us is that. So the prison is really always a mindset. It's always a mindset, and it's not the true nature of things. Now, some people that, you know, if you're steeped in victim consciousness, you might have a hard time even hearing what I'm saying. However, the reality is that you are free in the spirit. You know, like the man in the prison, he wasn't a captive of stone and iron. He was a captive of his own thinking that he couldn't be free, and his own thinking that he was locked in when he wasn't. Now, granted, you know, it's easy to think that, I guess, when you're put in prison, but wouldn't you think to try to open the door? Wouldn't you think that maybe sometime you might try? And so that's what's in front of us. We can open the door to our own greater freedom. And I know that as I see everybody on this call, I know you, and I know that you all do your work in consciousness. And I know that you all have come to a certain level of freedom within yourselves. And my experience is there's always more. There's always more. It seems like this earth plane is simply, it's simply a matter of continually letting go, letting go, letting go, releasing, releasing, releasing what is not the truth of our own being. So today, the message really is that we have the opportunity and the freedom to choose a different way of being. So we don't have to sit and stand and be in that place of living out old patterns, of living out old habits. We don't have to be in that place. We can choose something new. We can choose something new. We are not, here's the thing too, I hear people talk about karma. We are not chained to our karma. We aren't chained to that. In a moment of grace, that can shift. We don't have to live out, I think I read somewhere years and years and years ago, the ribbons of karma or something, how it just goes on and on and on, and that we're kind of imprisoned to it. No, we aren't. No, we aren't. We can choose new, and we know that there's a law of cause and effect in which we can change in any instant. And even greater than that, we know that there's a law of radiance and there's a law of emergence, and I'll talk about those in a moment. And that law of radiance is a law of I become what I want to see, and then I radiate that. It radiates from within me. And so what we want to do is, you know, the law of cause and effect goes only so far. And we want to actually become, and we talk about this all the time, we want to become what we want to experience in our lives. I need to become that. And how do we do that? Not by our own might, not by our own power. Have you ever tried doing it by your own might and power? Tried to change a habit, perhaps that you've had for a lot of your life? I have tried to, before I knew better, I tried to change things myself on the outside, or make myself better in this way or that way, or it doesn't work so well. However, when I look at this is what I want to experience in my life, this is what I envision for my life, then how will I feel when I'm living in that place? Let's say that I've experiencing fear, and this one this one spoke to me so well years ago. I really experienced a lot of dread. I woke up in the mornings, by the way, feeling dread. I see some of you shaking your heads. Yes, you felt that way too. And not knowing I mean, I could point to outer circumstances that perhaps caused it, but there was just kind of this heaviness that I woke, and people would never have guessed because I didn't present that way. However, that obviously wasn't what I wanted to experience. And so what I needed to do was okay, so what do I want to experience? I want to experience joy. I want to experience lightness. I want to experience, again, freedom. I want to experience that. And so what do I need to do? I need to look at what are some of those old patterns that I can let go of. And I can see old patterns from the past that actually don't even sound like they belong to dread, but patterns of low self-esteem, patterns of no self-worth. Don't even talk about low self-worth, no self-worth. Patterns of thinking that I have to do everything myself. That was a big one. That was a big one. Any of you ever feel that way? I had to do everything myself. I was the oldest of 7 kids, and somehow I got that idea. And I also had the pattern of, I have to make everything okay in this family, alcoholic family. I have to make everything okay, and I have to make sure these kids are okay. And I was left in charge of them many, many times. And it was, it was dreadful, talk about dread. And yet, I was supposed to be happy through it all because that was the paradigm in my family. Oh, no, you're happy. I told my mother once, I'm like, I don't feel happy. And she's, oh, no, you're happy. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be happy. Do you see what I'm saying? Can you get why perhaps I would feel dread, that I would not feel so good in my life? I certainly wouldn't feel powerful. And so I get to look at those and realize the biggest realization I had was I personally am not responsible for all of these things in my life. That's interesting. I wasn't going to this place, but here I am. So some of the rest of you may have felt like you are personally in charge, like you have to be in control of your life, perhaps, like you have to make things happen. I realized at a point, and I would love it if it had been earlier, but it was after I got into this teaching, and the closer I got to practitioner training and taking the classes, I do not have to be personally responsible for anyone other than myself, for anything. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't take responsibility. Let's be clear about that. What it means is that I don't have to make these things happen. What I need to do is to yield to the presence of the divine in everything. And I have to know that as I set my intention, here's the thing, as I set my intention, and as I contemplate my vision of what I want to experience, and as I embody the feeling tone of it, and that's not always easy, folks, when you're mired in some of this other stuff. However, you just keep working at it and you do the best you can. I'm of the belief that if we get to 51% of being there, then that's really good. and the law responds. And I say the law of grace, and it responds. And I think it responds even before that, as we just set the intention of what we want to experience. And it's always a God quality that we want to experience. Is always something within us that's already there, because the reality is that the joy was already within me, the love was already within me, and I could claim divine order that's already within me, knowing that I don't have to be the one to make it happen, but there's a divine order. And as I know something, and as I stand in something, and as I live from that place, and that's what prayer is, living from that place of standing in truth, standing in joy, standing in love, standing in compassion, standing in all of that. So when I'm standing in that place, I can trust and know that the Spirit of the living God that is my life and your life and all life is doing its thing. And it's amazing how much freedom I stepped into. And of course, it didn't have, of course, I had to embody it more and more and more. But even when I first made the intention, it was just so amazing to me. Wow, all my life, I've been struggling to make things happen because I had to be the responsible one. Anybody ever have that one? I had to be the responsible one. I had to make sure it was okay. So, and then ending up in the worst thing in my life, the thing I dreaded most was to be in leadership positions, and that's what always happened, And it happened that I got in leadership positions just so I could grow this, just so that I could grow the surrender, the yielding to the presence, proving to myself, proving to those around me that I of myself do nothing. Yeshua said that. I of myself do nothing. The Father within does everything. The presence within accomplishes everything. And I can tell you, dear ones, I can tell you that that is true. That is reality. And what it takes on our part, it takes, first of all, being awake and aware. Being awake of what are the patterns that are running me, and how can you know those? You can know them by those things that trigger you in your life. You can know them by an individual who just gets on your very last nerve. And, of course, we always want to think it's them, and it's never them. It's never them. And so I get to look at what's the old pattern in me that this person is triggering. When I was at Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, there was this one person, this one practitioner who, if I looked at it from victimhood, I would say was there to make my life miserable. But but I don't look at it from a victim point of view. I look at it from how he grew me. And one of the ways he grew me was he kept saying I was a horrible leader. I didn't know how to be a leader, blah, 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 And, see, I had this thing that I didn't want to be a leader, and I wasn't a particularly, so he grew me in that area. And I got to realize again, who's leading here? Is it me or is it spirit? What's going on here? And it strengthened me and it grew me. And so one of the ways you can tell is by people who show up in your life. And some people show up in a way that's quite loving, and and you see, maybe they're examples for you, or maybe they encourage you in some way. And then there are people that grow you by seeming unloving ways. And what I know about this person is that he and I had a soul contract, and he's one of the best people in my life. Though I still don't need to be in his presence, let's be real clear about that. But, he grew me in ways that probably no one else ever could. And so I value that. And it took me to a place of liberation in that particular area of my life. And here's the thing, everybody, as you are liberated in one area of your life, it's like building blocks. All of the other areas, all of those other old patterns start to fall away because we're one, we're a holistic unit. And so as I release fear in one area, then it gets released in other areas as well. It's a oneness. And so it's like it's like if you have building blocks and they're interlocking, and you take one out, then it weakens the whole structure. And so what we want to do is look at those areas of limitation, of lack, of fear, of doubt, of perhaps jealousy or envy. And as we do that, then, and as we do it, by the way, without judgment, don't judge it, just notice it. Oh, okay. Instead of, oh man, this area, I've been working on this all my life and it's still there. No, don't judge it. Just notice it. Notice it. And that gives a spaciousness to that whole area of your life, a spaciousness for it to move. You see, the more we resist or the more we judge, then it constricts. It kind of places a fortress around it, really, as the image that's coming to me now. So as I can just let go, and witness without any kind of judgment, then it gives a spaciousness there. And we focus attention on the pattern we desire then. What do I desire? What do I want to let go of? What do I want to become? What do I want to let go of? We adopt an attitude of this is who and what I am, really. And then the whole field of consciousness, get this, as we adopt a new pattern, a new attitude, the whole field of consciousness is stimulated, is invited, and our intention is reinforced by all of consciousness. That kind of came to me really strongly, like the whole field of consciousness. And it only makes sense because that field is oneness. That field is every single one of us. That field is everywhere, in everyone. And so that's a powerful thing. As I become more loving, the whole field supports me. And not only that, but everybody else in the field becomes more loving. You see how this works? It's this web of life, this field of life. And it's always, always not by our own might, not by our own power, but by the power of the indwelling presence that is our life. And that's the power of the infinite. That's the power that created the universe. That's the power that created the entire universe. It's within us. It is our power. And it's not the kind of power that the world knows at all. I've been watching that series, The Chosen. I know some of you have watched it too. And the recent one that I watched it showed Judas, and how Judas totally misunderstood Yeshua's message. He totally thought that Yeshua was all about political power, worldly power. And that wasn't at all what he was about. And yet that was the way Judas looked at it. He didn't look at it that this is an inner kingdom that that Yeshua was talking about. This is an inner power. This is the power that transforms the consciousness of the world, not that just wins over a political kingdom. And so that's the kind of power that we're talking about. And I don't think I talk about power enough, probably, because it just is so clear to me how we are such powerful beings. We have the power of the entire universe within us, the power to move mountains. I love elephants, and I think of elephants and, that the power that what a powerful animal that is, and how they can move things, and they can obstruct things, and they can do all this kind of stuff. The power of the one is who and what we are. And so even if we've made bad choices in our lives, even if we have felt dominated by our bad habits, by other influences of our lives, there's a power in us that is more than that. I am more than that. There's that song the Agape choir does, you know. Uh, I don't remember all the words now, but it's I am more than that is the refrain. I am more than all of these difficulties. I am more than this pain. I am more than, because I am the presence of the living God right here, right now. So we want to become aware of these old patterns, not to dig them out, or not to, I mean, they'll show up. You don't have to dig around to find them. They show up all the time. People want to dig into there. I'm like, you don't have to dig into that. Set an intention to be more peaceful, and everything unlike that will show up. If it's there, it's going to show up. So you don't have to dig, just notice, become aware. So you wake up and you become aware of limiting thoughts and beliefs and behaviors with your witness consciousness. And here's something that you can say, because then you want to choose, what do you want to experience? And so it came to me when I was preparing last night, all of these different words, which is, I see you fear, and I choose love. I see you doubt, and I choose faith. I see you anxiety, and I choose peace. I see you lack, and I choose abundance. Do you see? You're just saying, I see you, I'm noticing you, and this is what I choose. I see you scarcity, and I choose plenty. I see you loneliness, and I choose oneness. I see you self-criticism, and I choose self-love. I see you depression, and I choose joy. I see you confusion, and I choose clarity. I see you resentment, and I choose forgiveness. I see you ignorance, and I choose wisdom. I see you judgment, and I choose acceptance. And I probably could have gone on and on and on with more. But do you see how you're just saying, okay, I see you, I acknowledge you, because they want to be acknowledged. And this is what I choose. This is what I choose. And then, and don't try to do them all at once, by the way, just take one pattern and then notice, how am I going to feel when this is gone? How am I going to feel, for example, when plenty, if I see scarcity and when plenty is in my life, when I really have plenty, and I know that I do, how's that going to feel? And then what I do is I assume, this is Neville's law of assumption, I assume the feelings and the behaviors of what I desire. I remember at one point in my life, when I was kind of new to this teaching, actually, and I had a job, I remember it was in Santa Ana, and at lunchtime, I would walk around the area, and there were a lot of really beautiful homes in that area. And, I was experiencing lack in my life at that time. And I would go around the neighborhood and I would notice all these homes. And because I was also focusing on the I am presence that is my life, I would know, okay, this sounds crazy to you. It might sound crazy, but it worked for me. I would look at that home and I'd go, I am the owner of that home because I'm one with whoever owns it. Do you see what I'm saying? I am one with that home. I am the owner of that home, rather. And so I would do that kind of a thing. That as what just kept reinforcing over and over and over my oneness with the infinite. How can I be in lack if I am one with the infinite? But practicing, when I saw other people with abundance, oh, that's mine too. You see? Some people go into jealousy when they see other people that have more. No, 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 we don't go into jealousy. We go into joy, because that part of me is experiencing great abundance, great prosperity, great plenty. That part of me. And because they experience it, I know I can experience it. You hear what I'm saying? And we can do that with any of these qualities. Somebody that perhaps my sense of self-worth might be low at some point. And I notice people that seem really full of a lot of self-worth. Sometimes it looks like arrogance, but whatever, that's a judgment. But, I can be happy. Oh, wow, they feel good about themselves. And I have as much in me to feel good about because I am the one. You see where I'm going with this. And by doing that, you are breaking the shackles of your own limitations. And it's simple exercise, real simple. And is it easy? No, because it takes consistent discipline to notice your thoughts, notice your patterns, notice are there behavior patterns that really cause problems for you, and yet they just seem to be on automatic. Well, we want automatic to be coming to spirit. We want a new automatic. We want that to be where we naturally go in consciousness. And so I encourage you, just notice and then make a strong statement. I choose, and that's your freedom. That's your freedom to choose what you want to experience, who you want to be. And some people I have people in my family that would say to me, well, yeah, it might work for you. It's not going to work for me. No, 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 no. We are all the one life of pure spirit, every single one of us. We are the one. We are the great allness of the infinite. And so I encourage you, I encourage you to do these simple practices. And bottom line, and we say this all the time, meditate and pray daily, daily. Even if you can only meditate for 5 minutes, do it, because it makes a humongous difference in your life. Just be still, listen to the presence, open to it, affirm it, know it's who you are. It can't help but strengthen you. It can't help but reap rich rewards in your life. And I speak that as someone who knows, because I do this, because I practice this, because I came from a place of low self-esteem, of lack and limitation, of feeling I had to be in control of everything. All of these things, I came from that. And so I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that this stuff works. And the other thing I would suggest, pray, meditate, work with a practitioner. Get prayer after service today. Even if it's some little part of your life that you maybe don't think, or a habit that you don't think is that big a deal, go to a practitioner, get prayer. Get spirit practitioners are spiritual reinforcers. They're there to love you, and they're there to see the highest truth about you. So use the practitioners. I loved it last Sunday because we had this wonderful luncheon after service. We had a great service, wonderful lunch afterwards, and we had raffle tickets, and we were raffling off some practitioner sessions. And it was great to see how so many people value our practitioners. One woman bought 20 raffle tickets. Everybody got a free ticket, and then people could buy more if they wanted. One person, this was just one person at my table, that bought 20 tickets, and so there were probably others. But what that told me is that practitioner consciousness is so valued in our community, as well it should be. And so use your practitioners, use them. They're available. I think I'm about done. However, the last thing I just want to say, I want to reinforce by saying, today, I encourage you to make a decision to walk away from your old beliefs, your old habit patterns that have held you captive. And only you know what those are. Walk away from them. Notice them. I see you and I choose this. I see you and I choose this. You and only you have the key that unlocks the door to your own freedom. And that key is choice. To make a choice. Make a choice. It's all work in consciousness. And yes, do we have to move our feet? Of course. And we will be guided to know how to move our feet as we make choice, as we stand in that choice, as we affirm it, as we feel it, sense it, know it, and claim your liberation, claim your freedom. We're here to live free, abundant, creative, wonderful lives. So I just encourage you to do that, to just be the free person that life intends you to be and that you are already inside yourself. That's the thing. You're already it. It's just claiming it, choosing it. So with that in mind, we're going to turn within now for prayer.